Hello, my name is Hannah Farley. I'm a senior from West Des Moines, Iowa, studying textile and apparel management. It's my honor to recognize our next alum. Susan enrolled at Mizzou in 1962 to pursue her lifelong interest in fashion. She came away from Mizzou with fellow MU student Stanley Komen, who is in attendance with us today, who earned a bachelor in journalism in 1962 and was her college sweetheart. He eventually became her husband. They soon welcomed 2 children, Scott and Stephanie. Stephanie, who also joins us today, eventually followed in her parents' footsteps in becoming a Mizzou Tiger. Just a few years later, at age 33, Susan was diagnosed with breast cancer. For 3 years, she dealt with grueling radiation and chemotherapy treatments. Even during this struggle, Susan thought of others. "As soon as I get better, let's do something about this," she told her younger sister, Nancy. "You can find a way to speed up the research. I know you can." Nancy promised Susan that she would do everything she could to end breast cancer, but Susan passed away before her promise could be fulfilled. Susan died on August 4th, 1980, at age 36. Ever since, Nancy has kept her word to her sister, founding the Susan G. Komen Breast Cancer Foundation in 1982. More than 800 participants took part in the first Race for the Cure, the foundation's signature event, the following year in Dallas. Since opening, the foundation has funded more than $988 million in research and more than $2.2 billion in education, screening, and treatment in more than 60 countries. Today, more than 150 Races for the Cure are run worldwide, moving towards Komen's dream of ending breast cancer. Let's learn more about Susan's legacy.
We are very glad you can see this little film. We hope you enjoy it.
I'm Gina Morse Fisher, a 1994 graduate of the Missouri School of Journalism. After graduation, I returned to my hometown of Peoria, Illinois. It's during that time that my love for the mission of Susan G. Komen grew. You see, Susie Goodman Komen was a Peoria girl, too. While I never knew her, my path crossed many times with Susie's loved ones and friends. I had participated in the Race for the Cure for years and celebrated as the organization that bears her name became the world's most influential breast health charity for life-saving research.
I've always been interested since my PhD level. I was always interested in conducting research in the cancer area. Susan Komen Foundation at the time funded my initial research in which we showed that breast cancer is affected by progressed with acquisition of blood vessels, and they were very interested in funding that research so we could show that, in fact, that is the case.
1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer in their lifetime. That is unacceptable. I continue to volunteer on behalf of Susan G. Komen. There's just something about this team. They are fueling hope through research. Thank you for your tireless efforts and for keeping your promise to Susie to find the cures. I never tire of hearing stories of Susie's kindness, infectious enthusiasm, and generous heart. I think of the Susies in my life, and I'm so proud that a young woman from my hometown and college alma mater inspired the movement that will one day end breast cancer forever.
On behalf of the University of Missouri, it is my privilege to induct Susan G. Komen into the Mizzou Hall of Fame. To accept this award, please welcome Stephanie Komen to the stage.
Ooh, this is going to be fun. I'm already a little verklempt. My family and I were honored and humbled when we found out that Mom was going to be inducted into this year's Alumni Hall of Fame class. My dad and I are delighted to be here today to share in this celebration. Many of you might be familiar with the organization that my aunt, Nancy Brinker, founded in my mom's name and honor to honor a promise she made while my mother was dying. Most of you, likely though, will have a hard time remembering what it was like for breast cancer patients back in 1980. It was a time when people didn't talk about the big C out loud in polite society. Thinking about this honor has reminded me that success comes in many forms, and I believe the most important measure of success is staying true to your principles. I remember one poignant clipping from some time ago after my mom passed away. It was a story about a woman who had gone into my dad's store and asked after my mother. She told my dad that my mom had taken her out to lunch and shopping to take her mind off of her child who was getting treatment at St. Jude's Children's Hospital. The woman was surprised to find out my mom had died because in all that precious time they spent together, my mom never once mentioned that she too had cancer at that time. That's just who my mom was and how she was raised. And that's the essence that my aunt instilled in the Komen Foundation. While the stated mission has always been to eradicate breast cancer as a life-threatening disease, I believe the heart of who my mom was is really what makes Komen unique, different, and revolutionary. My Aunt Nancy wasn't just mad that she lost her sister. She was mad that my mom lost friends, because that's what happened back in 1980 when you had cancer. She was mad because cancer was misunderstood, feared, and those who suffered from it suffered more than the indignity of just having the disease. Never before Komen had there ever been an organization that dared to celebrate and create community around survivorship. What we think of today as the ever-inspiring Sea of Pink was an impossible dream while my mom was still alive. Another way my mom's essence and the spirit of activism made an indelible mark in the progress toward finding a cure was the way that my aunt and Komen leadership decided to change the grant-making structure. In those days, if you were published and had already received grant money, you got grant money. Instead, Komen decided to create a double-blind peer review process and award the merit of an idea and not the name attached to it. Since its inception, Komen has been responsible for finding and funding some of the most influential researchers in breast cancer. My mom was a hometown girl too, Peorian through and through, and my aunt made sure she honored that part of my mother as well by making sure that as Komen grew, 75% of the money stayed in the communities that raised it to serve local needs and not just a big organization. When my aunt started Komen, these were all revolutionary ideas that we now all take for granted. My aunt started the foundation with $200 in a shoebox and a Rolodex filled with people that could possibly help if she could find a way to convince them to. I believe my mom was with her every step of the way, but more than that, what never ceases to amaze me is how the very essence of my mom not only influenced my aunt, but I also see her spirit in volunteers and participants at Komen events across the country. I see that same selfless commitment in dedicated volunteers and in the people who just show up to those events, in the sisterhood and the camaraderie of survivors, sponsors, and the community. I see the dream my mom had made manifest. Today, no one suffers a breast cancer diagnosis journey alone. As I was preparing to come here today and thinking about how I wanted to talk about my mom's influence, I happened upon a few words that I'm not sure who to attribute to. Ripples. When you create a difference in someone's life, you not only impact their life, you impact the life of everyone influenced by them throughout their lifetime. No act is ever too small, one by one,
This is how to make an ocean rise. I don't think my mom had any idea how much influence her life, her battle, and her loss would impact me, my aunt, or the world. What I do know is the best way we can honor her is by making sure that we tell the people who make a difference in our lives how special they are and how much they mean before they leave for another job, another state, and always before all we have left to offer is a eulogy. Thank you so much for this honor. It is humbling and wonderful. I appreciate it.